Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Lookism season finale, a great season finale, a beautiful season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So it is the day of the festival, and obviously there's all these little events going on that I think is so interesting. You have, Jin Seong is like doing a boxing thing, and everyone's just trying to like lay a hand on him, and he's just so effortlessly dodging it. And when he wins, the guy's like, "Hey," he's like, "Do you want to try again? You want to go?" The guy's like, "No, I can't do it." Then like someone's arm wrestling Bosco and gets completely demolished. It's interesting with the whole Ji-ho situation because, like, right, he's not being as bullied by Jin Seong, but he's still kind of being brought along by the others. And there's this one pretty guy that was like cutting hair at the school, and he kind of isn't really good at it, but the girl's captivated by his look. And we see that, I want to say, because it's one of the names I saw in the outro is Sue Seong? I think that's her, the pretty woman that always sees Hyung Seok at the convenience store. And she's kind of disgusted by this place because that's kind of like, it's just like that, oh man, all that matters is looks. That's all that captivates people, which I think is understandable. We'll get into our circumstances later. It's understandable why she'd feel that way, but it is this interesting thing where she immediately assumes the worst in other people because Hyung Seok saw her. He was like, "Oh my God, hey, I want to talk to you," but she wouldn't even give him the time of day. She didn't even try to. So that's also the hypocrisy of it, where it's just kind of like it's just kind of like, right, you're kind of looking down on the people at school because you think you know everyone here. Yes, there's some people here like that, but not everyone's one. Like, he tried to talk to you, and she's like, "Do I know you?" And she thought, like, "Oh, you're trying to hit me up with a line or whatever." And she's just, "Yeah, this school," like, I think she came to check the school out, but she's like, "I was going to stick around, but, like, no, the school is upsetting." But the guard, like, he was trying to reach out to stop her, and her guard, like, got in the way. And he kind of fights with Hyung Seok and kind of lays him out with a powerful kick. But he's even been like, "Yo, you're not properly trained." But even I'm like, "Yo, I'm impressed that you had the reflexes enough to try and guard it at the last second despite how fast it was." But he's like, "Yeah, like, I'm ordered to protect her because she's from a pretty wealthy family. If I'm not mistaken, and I could be, the record label or manager or CEO guy that's trying to get Ho Bin and his buddy, like, that whole deal, that record producer or CEO, whatever he's like classified as, the record deal he's trying to give them, the company he works for, I believe, and like I say, I could be misremembering, I believe it's under her family's umbrella, Sue Seong. Sue Seong, I believe that's her family, like, has a conglomerate, and that's one of the enterprises underneath it. I think. Because I remember her being from a super, super wealthy and influential family. I mean, that's why she's got the guard, and that's why, like, oh yeah, like, I was ordered by the boss, if anyone touches you, I had to crush him, and that's what he was going to do. But then Bosco showed up and was like, "Yo, that's my friend." And he's like, because he was like, "Oh, what, is this guy a friend of yours?" And he's like, "Yeah, he is." And it took Hyung Seok by surprise. It's because for Bosco, it's like, right, I heard from those three yesterday, last episode, that you were actually a pretty legit dude. So yeah, I'll consider you a friend. And so he ends up hitting Vasco straight in the face, but he's like, "Go ahead, take your glasses off," because he's not going to fight someone with glasses. It's like, take them off so we can tumble. And in that moment, seeing how Vasco's got his back and called him a friend, Hyung Seok is like, "Right, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to fight you too." And he's impressed by it. And luckily, Seong told him to back down. He's like, "Right, sorry." She's like, "If you don't do this, you're going to have to go back to where you were." I don't remember that dude's circumstances. Like, obviously, that implies a lot about, like, oh, you have to go back to where you were. I think it's like, hey, you were in a slummy and crappy situation, but you were brought up, and you're a dangerous person that maybe got a second chance in life. And it's like, right. He's like, "Right, it's been a while since I fought, so yeah, sorry about that." And she even apologized. It's like, "Sorry you got hurt." Obviously, Bosco, like, fell to his knees being like, "Yeah, I plan on when I fight you again to win." But he's like, against a guy like that, I don't think even I could win, you know? And so the both of them kind of bond or whatever. And it's just kind of like, yeah, Bosco does see him as a friend. He's like, "But don't forget, next time I will beat you." And he's like, okay. And obviously it's time for the performance. And Jae-yo had given not only Hyung Seok, but also Diakwa new clothes as well and gave him like the most stylish stuff. And it's like, yeah, let's go out there. Ho Bin and them did their thing, yada yada yada. Who cares, right? And obviously Hyung Seok like was there trying to defend his friend, but who was like, no, let's beat them by going on stage and killing it. And honestly, they did. It's like, dude, and once again, you could tell obviously how it's like animated like differently. Like they were like straight up like, I don't know if I'm using the right terminology. Like it looked like CGI animated, like animation, 3D CGI animation for that section, because you could just tell like the animation was done differently. But I was like, dude, it's a beautiful song, and it's just like, dude, like shit, like when you hear shit like from a different, having like listened to a little bit of like J-rap, a little bit, Japanese rap. The Japanese rap I've listened to, there's a band I really like called Back On. One of the songs that they did that I really love is the opening song Chains. It's the opening song for the anime Air Gear. Well, the anime adaptation of Air Gear. But that wouldn't work in live action. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. That's a conversation for another episode. But it's like, yeah, like Japanese, when you hear it in a different language, like, I mean, I kind of feel the same way like about Bad Bunny, when you hear him like rapping in like Spanish, you're like, oh, that sounds so sick. It's like, especially with Bad Bunny's case. I mean, luckily in this case, obviously we have subtitles, so we know. And I was like, oh, it flows and it sounds so nice. Because that's the thing, like, it won't always mesh up. Like, you could get it, but it won't always mesh up when you translate it in English. But like, in Korean, I'm like, yo, that shit's flow. I'm actually curious. I'm like, I didn't watch this like dubbed. I'm like, what's the dub of this sound like? I'm curious. Like, how was that done in the dub? But it's just one of those things like rapping in other languages. It sounds so, and singing too. And I'm like, oh my god, like the mesh, like, because this has that same feel to it, kind of like. Because, like, one band I like I used before as an example was Back On. If you've never heard of them, they're a J-rock band, but, like, one of their vocalists is an MC, so it's, like, rap and singing. It's one of the... One's a rapper, and their singer, who also kind of does a little rapping too, is also their singer and guitarist. I'm going on a whole tangent, but it's just like, oh my god, it flew, and just like, obviously stumbled a little bit, but Diakwa stepped in, and just everyone was just like, and then your boy Hyung Seok, geez, I'm stumbling on names right now, sorry. Like, it was just a spectacular performance. I'm just like, yeah. I'm going to have to put that on repeat. I'm sure already, I mean, I want to track it down probably like on like Spotify or something like, but I'm sure you'll be able to find it on YouTube. I would prefer just a platform where like not just someone ripping it and putting it on YouTube. I hope like, at the very least, I think will be dope as Netflix did that. I don't know if they really like upload sections of animes. I know they do it with TV shows and stuff like that. I hope this is on one of the Netflix YouTube channel things. This should be a thing they take out and like make its own, like make it like a 3-minute video, where however long the performance is. But because I'm like, that's something I'm going to put on repeat. It sounded so beautiful. It's so good, especially because Diak, who I was like, yo, visualize that person you want to sing to and sing to them with all your heart. And Hyung Seok did too, and it's like, Diakwa is like speaking from his heart, from his experiences through his hardships, and you're just like, I mean, because to me that's like the antithesis of rap. What it's supposed to be, it's about your circumstances, speaking from the heart. That's when the real meaningful shit kind of floats to the surface, So I just thought that was beautiful. Obviously, like, everyone lost it. Even the guy who was giving Ho Bin and them a deal or whatever, it's like, yeah, sorry, maybe next time. But he didn't give it to Diakwa. He gave it to Hyung Seok, because it's like, no, you should take this. And he's like, because he was like, hey, kid, I remember you from the audition. He's like, whoa, you remember me? He's like, yeah, I do. And his right-hand guy kind of laughs, and he slaps him in the face, because home dude had to remind him who... That's the sad thing. Like, the guy's like, oh my god, I almost didn't recognize him because he's dressed a little differently, but it's the same dude from the audition, the one you turned down. But it's like, yeah, if he wants to, he'd have great success, like, kind of being on an underground circuit, but not, like, mainstream. He'd never have any mainstream success. You, on the other hand, pretty face, you're singing, we can make this all about you, give you a contract. But for Hyung Seok, it's like, no, like... First and foremost, you're only saying that because I'm pretty. Like, if I was in my original body, even if I poured my heart and soul into the song, you wouldn't be giving me the same respect. And it's like, this wasn't about me. This is about me helping out my friend. That's what comes first and foremost, I did appreciate all the celebratory pictures, and I love that it's just kind of like a thing of like, yeah, the Jin Seong's crew is kind of friends. And obviously, Ha Newell is Newa is there as well. She's like, oh my god, he was so good, that was so amazing, and even people being like, oh my god, Diakwa, that was amazing, like he did such a great job. But sadly, he left because it's like, despite everything, like, you know, they won, but it's like, oh, still didn't get the recognition. And when it was all said and done, even the videos that go online cut him out of it because everyone's just focused on Hyung Seok. And him, Jiho, and Hyung Seok, who's in a smaller body, are watching it. But it's like, no, like, what you did was amazing. He's because he's trying to brush it off. He was like, no, I'll get it next time, you know. I'll kind of make my songs even better, and you know, this time doesn't bother me at all. It does, and it is such a bummer he didn't get the full recognition, that they're even cutting him out of stuff. But when it is all said and done, oh, and Bosco tearing up, tears pouring out of his eyes, and Bumjay like laughing at him about like, oh, look at you, like getting all sensitive and like, you know, teary eyed about it. So I thought that was so beautiful. And then we also got Sue Jeon, if like I said, if that's the same, if that's her name, like I haven't seen it, they haven't said it in the story, because when he met her as Big Hyung Seok, he's like, well, she kind of was nasty to him, so he was like, man, she's not a nice person, not the nice person I knew. And so we got at the end when she heard the song, she's like, whoa, and she remembers the song because she's like, whoa, I remember, you know, the kid from the convenience store singing it, and then she turns and looks at someone sleeping in her bed. So this is going to be slight spoilers. Like I've been talking about it, I remembered her circumstances. So spoilers, if you want to know or don't want to know, sorry, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Her circumstances are the same as Hyung Seok. She has two bodies. That's why I was saying earlier, it's understandable why she was looking at the school like that, Jaewon High School like that, because she is someone who was kind of frowned upon because of how she looked. And the moment she's got this beautiful face and body, everyone now all of a sudden likes her. It's just, that's why she can't stand people like that. That's why she kind of brushed Hyung Seok off, and that's why she's so sweet to the small him at the convenience store, because she's like, right, you're someone like, I understand, like, you know, she sees the beautiful person that he is versus like who he is on the inside versus who he is on the outside. I'm sure probably from the outside she thinks he's pretty like as well. So, but I think in that moment she was like, wait, could it be? And I was shocked by that, because I was like, wait, because, you know, where, like, once again, it's been a while since I read, but their interactions are super complicated. They're at, like, where I was in the story, I don't know, like, eventually they're going to find out about each other, but where I left off in the story, and once again, it's been a while, they didn't know about each other's circumstances, and they have a complicated dynamic, because Big Him is upset. He likes small her, but dislikes big her, but then, like, big her likes small him, but dislikes big, like the opposites of each other. Their lines are crossed, and it's a very big misunderstanding. So, but that's why I was like, I don't remember that clicking for her in the webtoon. Once again, not unless I'm misremembering, but I don't remember it being like a thing of like, wait, could it be like it clicked for? Oh, I didn't even talk about why that's, because Hyung Seok couldn't remember why he heard that song for. It just stayed with him. And obviously he was pouring out his soul and heart to his mom. And then we see at the very end of it, which was almost made me want to tear up. I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. It's his mom holding a baby him humming that song. That's where it came from. It's been instilled in him with the hardships and everything his mom ever did to look after him and take care of him. And, you know, and that's why when he sings that song, like, you know, through the hard times, because it was back then when his mom, like, cradled him and everything. And I'm like, that's so effing beautiful, dude. And then we get the, like, after everyone hung out and saw the video and stuff like that, obviously he went home after working at the convenience store and went to sleep, and he ends up taking the glasses off his, like, I love that he's treating his other body with care, and almost like we're two different people. And then he kind of goes, see you later, and we see the pictures on the wall. They're the performances, him, Diakwa and Jiho at karaoke, him with Hanuel, Jin Seong and Mi Jin hanging out, just all these different pictures and stuff. There's even one of him hanging out with as his small body self hanging out with Bosco and his own mom. And I'm like, that's so cute. And then there's the one with all three of, like, he's in his OG body and he's hanging out with Diak, Hua and Jiho, and they're hugging and it's like, friends forever. Let's kind of like work together and let's get it done. And the final picture is a picture he took of himself in both bodies and like tore them and taped them together. And I was like, honestly, that ending, I was like, I'm getting a little choked up about the ending because I was almost like, wow, the fact that they did that made me go like, they might have done that just because they don't know for sure if they're going to get a season 2 for this anime. Because I know like Netflix, if I'm not mistaken, gutted their animation department. So they have a licensing right to this thing. So I don't know like if this plays differently in Korea. Like if this is on like a network in Korea and then like Netflix has at the very least the US licensing for it. Maybe there's other places that have the licensing for it. Maybe it has the licensing for it in other countries as well. I don't know if this is even in Korea isn't on Netflix is what I'm wondering. But that might be why like they kind of like, right, we don't know if we're going to get a season 2. Once again, it is based on a webtoon, so if you do want to finish the story. But like I said, that ending, like even those pictures and stuff, I'm like, I don't remember that at all. Like, the fact is they didn't show, but I think that's almost like, here's some future stuff, you know, like, I think if there is a season 2, there is going to be a big gap in between of just like, yeah, this is him. Even after the performance, he's kind of still lived his life and he's had these nice moments with not only his really good friends, but the other friends he's made, like Jae-yeol, like I said, even Jin Seong, and Nuo, who really likes him, and so on and so forth, you know, and even Bosco hanging out with him and his mom, so... Like, cause I'm getting choked up a little bit. It was a very, very beautiful ending. So it is December 22nd at the time of me recording this, and it seems like Netflix hasn't confirmed whether or not this show is getting a second season yet. So we'll probably have to wait a while. And obviously, it's an animated series, so that's going to take even if it gets a season 2, which I hope that it does, because once obviously like this is based on what and based on what I was reading, because I haven't checked on the webtoon in a while, but I do believe it is still ongoing, and based on some of the things I was skimming through, it does seem like it currently still is too. So, which even I know like there's still way more story to tell because I've talked about some of the stuff. So there's still way more story that needs to be told, but I would love to see a season 2 for it because I think this is such a beautiful, you know, it is a very like rough show. It can also be funny and has a lot of fun, but it can also be serious about just kind of like that popularity contest of like looks can get you a lot throughout the world rather than looking at the person on the inside. And obviously it means a lot too when it's a performance school like a fashion design class or a vocal and dance, you know, so, you know, it plays layers upon layers of the title Lookism. So fingers crossed, because I hope we do get a season 2, because I'd love to see where things would, once again, knowing, because I feel like, because I didn't even talk about it, they did set up DG's introduction, but I'm like, I do feel like I remember reading some of the stuff with DG. I can't remember. Like I said, where I was in the story, he's met in some shape or form, he's met both sides of her. He doesn't realize Jeon is like the same, like the small version or big version are like the same person. I don't know if she went through the trouble of giving herself different names or not. Because they might make that click a lot sooner in the anime than they would in the manga, at least when I read. Like, once again, maybe this is a lot further in the webtoon than I remember. Once again, like a lot can get put into... Because the webtoons aren't extremely long. They're fairly short, especially as the series goes on and on. I used the Tower of God example. 13 episodes basically covered 90 chapters of the webtoon, you know, so... But anyway, putting that aside, once again, fingers crossed, hoping for a season 2, because I'd love to see, because I think this show also has, like, beautiful animation and stuff, so... I hope the show would get a second chance. I don't know how many people are watching it. Once again, I don't know how much Netflix is really putting behind its animation department, you know. Once again, I could be mistaken, but I remember for a while, like, they're the only ones that have recently started gutting, like, the animation departments for their... that's a whole conversation in itself, so... and if sadly this is the only thing we get, it's a bummer, but at least we got this. I think that's that should be commended all on its own. Like the team behind this, animators, everyone, the voice actors did an amazing job with this. So if this is all we get, I hope it's not. But if it is, I think it ends off beautifully enough to be like, and you want the rest of the story, you're going to have to read the webtoon. But also just getting this is just kind of like, I think, a victory on its own. Because I was so shocked when I saw the teaser for it. I'm like, wait, we're getting this as an anime? I was like, that's awesome. Also, I talk about music and stuff, like that opening. Every time I'm like, I'll probably skip the opening. Nah, I won't. I was actually surprised because I'm like, it's a really catchy opening, and especially because it's one of those openings, because traditional anime stuff, it's like, oh, let's use scenes or kind of like allude to future stuff, but it's like this doesn't. It shows you some characters and some dancing, but like the intro like is very like its own thing. It doesn't give you an idea of what the show is, So, but it's a phenomenal song, and just it flows so well, like the dancing of the opening and stuff. But either way, so there's that. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of great things we got for this season, even if this ends up being the only one. Once again, I'm praying and hoping that that's not the case, but we'll have to wait and see. But I've rambled on long enough. That's really all I wanted to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good